Welcome to the McGuire Podcast. My name is Brian Cooper. I am the Vice President of Business Development at McGuire and your host for this podcast. At McGuire, we are a force for good. We deliver innovative water solutions to solve customer challenges. Today's episode takes us behind the scenes of rural water systems, not the big city utilities, but the small towns, communities, and rural networks that face unique challenges every single day. I'm joined by two boots-on-the-ground professionals from the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems who play a critical but often invisible role in keeping local water systems running smoothly. Gavin Graverson, a technical assistance and training specialist, and Kocmich, a circuit rider and field problem solver across the state. From emergency response to operator training, compliance support to everyday troubleshooting, these two are helping communities solve problems before they become crises. So how do they exactly help? Why is their work so vital? And what should every local water system know heading into 2026 and beyond? Gavin and Alan, welcome to the McGuire Podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with this. Can each of you give me kind of a quick overview on what your role is with South Dakota Rural Water and what a typical day might look like? I'm going to start with you, Gavin. What do you do and what does a day look like in your world?
I provide technical assistance, support, do some training out in different sites throughout the state. I put together workshops, help put together our ATC and our expo that we have. Just providing various training that the operators are looking for. Day to day, we do leak detection. We do some fire hydrant repairs. This year we've been doing a lot of fire flow testing. I think some of the towns got hit by their insurance companies, and so we go out and do that. Do some hydrant maintenance, show them how to properly take care of some fire hydrants and stuff like that. So
you're saying every day is different?
Every day is different. Yeah. Like I said, it could be technical support in a water plant to out in the field in the distribution system. Maybe they got a line that needs to be disinfected. Maybe they have a tower, that they've taken down and they need to disinfect it. So it varies from day to day.
Awesome. Alan, what about you? What's a day look like as a circuit rider at South Dakota Rural Water?
Well, it's pretty hard to plan a day because one telephone call and you're headed to the other side of the state.
Right.
A circuit rider does everything in the field, boots on the ground, everything from a broken fire hydrant to leak detection. We have all the cool stuff for finding a leak in your town or anything like that, listeners, leak trailer, that kind of thing. We have a vac. We do main valves. We'll suck them out if that's what you need. We'll spin valves, exercise them. We'll do all that kind of stuff.
So what led you to this line of work? I'm going to stay with you, Alan. What led you into this type of work?
We talked about that at work, and none of us graduated high school and said, we want to get into the water and the wastewater field.
Right.
None of us did. And it's just one of them things. They were offering a job when I got out of high school, and I went to work for the city of Avon for 32 years. And I retired out of them, but still needed that health insurance. So right. South Dakota Rural Water wanted me, and I came here.
And you'd built up a history of expertise, and so now you're sharing it with others.
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Gavin, what about you? What led you here?
Same way Al got here. Like I said, we've talked about this many times. Nobody goes to school to be a water operator. I got out of college, needed I needed a job, and I was offered a role down at a water plant in Beersford. I worked there for about 5 years and then moved up to Sioux Falls and put 30 in there, worked my way up from water operator all the way up to water superintendent and retired from there. Again, too young to get any Medicare or anything like that, so I needed to find some job with some insurance and something. After I signed my papers, I didn't have any plans, and then I went back to my office and I was looking at the service line, and it said, "Hey, we're looking for a circuit rider at South Dakota Rural Water." I said, I think I can do that. So I applied, and here we are. It's been a great job so far. So.
What are some of the common challenges? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of the services you provide. But recently, what are some of the things? South Dakota, large geography, lots of small systems, small communities, small towns, Beersford, Avon, places you guys came from. What are the things right now that are the hottest topics and the things you get calls the most about, Gavin?
A lot of it is new operators. They come in, somebody's retired, somebody's quit, and they fell into the position like we had, and, they're new. They don't have the experience. They don't have the knowledge. So they're always looking for, they all have some questions, and hopefully we have some of the answers that can help them out. So,
Alan, how about in your world?
Well, pretty much same thing. This morning I was visiting with a small town around Sioux Falls here, and they've got a new operator. And you go into the town and you explain, what they need for certifications, their classifications they need in the town. We talked about hydrant maintenance. This town is lacking on that. So here in a week or so, I'm going to go up and show them how to maintain a fire hydrant the proper way, and how you do it, and sit down and talk to him for a couple hours. And there's a lot of need out there for new operators. There is definitely a need. And these small towns, they hire some farm boy that, doesn't have any experience. And that's where we come in too, is to help them out however we can.
How has that shifted, in the last few years? Looking at yourselves, you used to be operators with lots of experience, and now you've moved on. People have taken your place. How has that shifted in the industry of being a water operator? Because we're seeing a lot of retirements and a lot of young people coming in. So what does that look like in your guys' world?
It's good. There's you need some fresh young blood into the systems. It's also bad because a lot of these small towns, it's hard for them to get an individual. We've been in one town in the 2 years that I've been with rural water. They've gone through 4 operators already.
Wow!
So the turnover is great at some places, and all that institutional knowledge is gone. You don't have the guys there that can, tell you where the valves are located, what you need to do to run the treatment plant, and so that's a big concern for us on our end, just trying to help out the systems that need it. And before I even left Sioux Falls, we were seeing a slowdown in applicants applying for positions. We would end up with, when I first started, there'd be 30, 40 guys that would apply for a City of Sioux Falls job. And, towards the end, we weren't getting nearly as many. You got 5 or 6 or 7 that you would choose from. So, and in small towns, it's even tougher.
Right.
So.
And also in the small towns, and I know this happens in Avon, where I was street and water commissioner. There's everything in my head. For 30 years, I'd done everything, right. And I knew where this curb stop was. I knew where they all were. I knew where the valves were. I didn't need maps. Okay, did I put them all down on paper?
No, I'm going to say no.
No, I did not. Okay, now the new operator there, he calls me quite often, and it's, I got to do this, and how do I do that? And we'll definitely help him out with all that stuff. But looking back, I should have had it called South Dakota Rural Water and had it GSI'd, all the curb stops, so that it more prepared him to do a better job when he got in there.
What does it look like from a training perspective? So we talked about younger operators coming in. Gavin, as part of your job in setting up all these trainings, what are the things that these operators need or looking for, or the things that can make them successful in the industry?
A lot of it is, getting together with other operators and just having that conversation with other guys, meeting people, knowing who they are. So if you do have an issue, you can call them and, ask them questions. I mean, that's the biggest resource is the other operators in the state. Somebody has seen something going on. They've experienced it. There's no need to try to invent the wheel on your own. If you have some questions, call somebody and ask, and hopefully they can help you out. That's the biggest thing. Also, it's the training part of it. Getting them the knowledge on the rules and regulations. Just an overview on everything. That's covered in their job descriptions. Guys in small towns, they're water operators or wastewater operators or collection operators or lab testing. They have to do it all.
They're moving snow, they're mowing yards,
Yep.
and that's part of the reality in a small town. Like I grew up in a small town, and the guy who worked for the city did 9 jobs.
Yep. That's it. They got to know everything.
Right.
You don't just know water. I was fortunate when I was down in Beersford. I worked at the water plant, so that's all I learned was water, and I didn't have to go out and mow or plow streets. When I moved to Sioux Falls, same role. I stayed in the plant and I learned how to do water treatment.
Alan, how about you?
Well, I was in a small town. Avon's only population is 650 people, and you said 9. You got to do 9 different jobs.
Maybe it was 12.
I think there's a lot more than that. And in a small town, everybody has your cell phone number, you know, or they know you.
Right.
They'll drive right to your house. But, there's so many challenges out there that a new person just coming in, it's going to be a struggle. And that's what we're here to help them with, get through them first couple of years until they cut their teeth on it and they're ready to go.
So let's move into water and wastewater. You guys are on the distribution side, so we'll focus a little on water. When somebody opens up their tap in the morning and they get water, it's coming from somewhere. When they're taking a shower, doing laundry, water in their yard. What are the technical assistance programs and why are they so critical to this day-to-day operation that a lot of us take for granted every day?
It's having the circuit rider program or the EPA trainer technical assistance programs. They're important because they get us, the guys with some experience, some knowledge. We have some equipment that a lot of towns don't have. Just the knowledge that we bring out to the systems to convey to them that, hey, here's what's available and what you need to do, And like I said, a new operator at a system, he doesn't know that he has to go collect bacteria samples every month. He doesn't know that he has to collect a fluoride sample. It's stuff like that. He doesn't know how to do it.
Right.
He gets a failed bac T sample. He don't know what he needs to do to repeat samples. So there's stuff like that we bring out in the field on a day-to-day basis that the guys need.
And these are just the easier things, like not to mention leak detection or any of these things are much more sophisticated.
Yeah. We have a leak trailer. We have listening devices. We get between small and larger systems, we get calls from them all to come out and to help. We hook up our leak trailer and we can identify, areas in town that might have a leak, potential leaks. And then we can get out our listening devices and listen to see if we can hear anything.
And the correlator.
Yeah, we have a correlator too.
Okay.
All kinds of equipment that we have that all this equipment costs, thousands of dollars, and small towns just couldn't afford to have all that stuff sitting around.
That was my next question, and I'll direct it to you, Alan. What would happen if the South Dakota Rural Water didn't have these services available for these small communities and small water systems?
When a community, it doesn't even have to be a small community, but when a community has a water loss, it's financially strapping them. That revenue is not coming in. They're buying so much water and selling so much water, and if that doesn't equal out, you're going in the hole. If we didn't have all this to assist the towns, there's towns that didn't call us for a year and they were losing 1 million gallons a month.
And for the cost of treating that water, that's a lot of money out the door.
Some of it's not all just treating; they're buying it from a rural water system. It's one thing if you're treating it; it isn't quite
so bad.
But when you're purchasing it, it's a whole nother ball game. And we go in and on the inside the leak trailer, we've got all the dates and what town and how many gallons, we saved them, and we based it off of a 1 month. If every leak leaked 1 month, but some of them were a year. Some of them were
Before
only 2
somebody
weeks.
noticed, or right?
Yes, before somebody said something that we need to come in. And I think last year we found it was close to 8 million gallons a month is what we located with the leak trailer. Now we got a new leak trailer that does a better job. I mean, of
Technology gets better.
yes, it does, and we're finding them all the time. Tomorrow I'm headed way up to the northern part of the state. We'll drag it all the way up there to look for a 5 gallon a minute leak. But that's our service, that's our job, and that's what we'll do.
Yeah, like Al said, when a town's experiencing a 20 gallon a minute leak, that's a lot of water.
Right.
And an experienced operator notices that right away. The inexperienced guy, he doesn't. And he relies on maybe the finance officer to say, "Hey, we lost a lot of water this month."
Well, and one thing is realizing it. Another thing is where am I losing it, right?
Right, yeah. And a lot of those leaks that don't surface, they're very difficult depending on types of soils you have, how close it is to a storm drain.
Is it running into a stream? Like you have no idea.
Right. So we get a lot of calls. One town we went to just south of Sioux Falls a ways, they had a 20 gallon a minute leak, and we surveyed the whole town, and it was the very last block that we surveyed, and we found it.
It's always the last place you look.
And, we get out the listening devices to go check curb stops to see if we can hear a leak somewhere. And you walk up to the very first one, and you didn't have to put any equipment on it. You could hear it. I mean, I could hear it, and I'm half deaf the way it is. And the homeowner came out while we're standing there, and he's like, "Well, I thought you guys were doing some work on the system, so I didn't call you. I haven't had water since Friday."
Oh my gosh! Right.
So it's stuff like that. The homeowner didn't know. I should have called in. The operator didn't know.
And we've been called in before. They're getting water in their basement. Something's got with a wet year like we've had this year. We can prove that it is not a leak. And sometimes that's a good thing too. That's a good thing too. There's some pumps are running. It's got to be the city's fault. It's always the city's fault. And so they'll have us come in and hook up, and they're not losing any water.
What are the most pressing challenges facing local water systems today? If you guys had to distill it down to what's the biggest issue today and what we're going to face moving forward, what would that be?
A lot of it, as we said earlier, was new operators, staff. Like I said, one town went through 4 operators in the 2 years that I've been with rural water. Hopefully this last guy they hired stays and keeps doing a good job. But, there's not many qualified guys out there for the smaller towns. And it's wages, a lot of it. If the small town can only afford to pay you, $20 or $15 an hour, that's you're not going to attract a lot of people. And people are going to jump from there to a better paying job when they get a chance. And that's what we've seen happen at this smaller town. They left because they could find better jobs elsewhere, paid a little bit more. So that's the big challenge for the systems is finding qualified applicants and operators.
And I think the thing a lot of people don't understand as well is it's not just having a body. This person has to be certified. So they have to take classes. They have to keep certifications up. And so it's not just hey, we can take anybody. We can take people, but then we got to train them and certify them and all of that.
Yeah. So there's quite a cost into that.
Right.
A lot of man hours between the operator, learning all this stuff, doing some hands-on stuff. Getting to the classes, taking the tests, he's got to be certified for, like I said, wastewater and water. You got, if they got a plant, then you got to, be certified in treatment and collection and, just stuff like that. So there's a lot.
Because it's all regulated.
Yes, it's all regulated by Danner and EPA.
And it also comes into the safety factor. These people, they have nothing in the prior life. They never had anything to do with water, and now they got a water main break, and it's trench safety. It's all this stuff comes into play too. They need to be trained on how to be safe so that nobody gets hurt or anything like that, and then make sure that, when you cut that main open, that no water's running back into it, that it's chlorinated and done the right way. That takes time to get somebody experienced.
Yeah, like Al said too, the safety part of it's big. There's the operators in small towns. There's one guy, and how do you go into a lift station or a manhole, or you can't do that.
Confined space. You can't go in yourself.
Right. You need somebody else there. And I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of operators that go into those confined spaces without anybody there.
Or they'll get the finance officer to come down and stand next to the hole.
Be the hole watch. And
Yeah.
It's not a safe situation.
Well, and I think a lot of people, what water and wastewater operators do, it has to do with public safety. I mean, water has to be at a certain level. You can't have bacteria. You can't have, so it's a really important job.
Oh yeah, it is. You and to find operators that care, that's the big part too. You got to find a guy that cares, what he's doing. You can't just turn the pump on and let things run. You got to monitor it. You got to grab samples, and record those numbers, write them down, so the public can be safe. There's nothing more than waking up in the morning and wanting to make sure your water is safe and clean. You don't think about it. You turn the tap on, you grab a glass of water and you drink it, and that's the biggest thing. You got to find operators that care.
And every plant is different. Every system is different, to where you can walk into, some of these towns are still on wells and they've got to add a lot of chlorine and other things to it. The next town can pretty much send it through the line and it's almost good. The plants are all built at a different era in time, where the technology is getting so much better and so much easier. But there's plants out there that have been built in the 50s that are still running. It's way different than the new plant down there on the south end of the state there. It's state of the art. Wow, it's nice.
You need a computer science degree to run the thing.
Yes, you do. So every system is different.
Where do you guys see investment in water systems? Are we doing a good job of investing in our infrastructure, or we can always do better? But you guys travel the state, see the whole thing. Where are we at, and where can we be better?
We definitely have an aging infrastructure in most of the cities in the state. The pipes were put back in the 50s and 60s. Fire hydrants have been in there from the 50s and 60s. So there's a lot of investment that needs to go forward to replace some of this stuff. It's old. Sioux Falls is no different. They got old pipes in the ground.
Old parts of town.
Yep. It's just that way. You have limited resources. If you look at your water bill, it's the cheapest thing you probably pay for a bill that you have. And they just don't charge enough to do the upkeep. I mean,
I'm going to stay on that topic because this is something we deal with in our industry and water towers all the time. How often do you guys look at a town and look at their water bill and somebody says, well, we haven't raised water rates in 20 years?
I heard it when I worked down at Beersford. I see it now, out in different systems. I went to one town and the guy, I asked him, what do you guys pay for the water? And they were buying it, and he gave me the number. And I said, well, what do you charge per thousand? And he told me the number, and I was just like, you guys aren't charging enough.
Right.
You're not making any money. I said, you're like one big main break away from not having any cash.
Yeah.
And so they actually went in to do a study to raise rates, do a rate study. So,
and I know that's part of what you guys do as well when you're working with communities, is that education piece and helping them understand how that works. So, Alan, what does that look like when you're having those discussions with operators and trying to help them understand how you can help them by maybe doing it a different way?
Well, there's I've sat down with mayors and council members already and discussed it with them. And, these small towns, it's nobody wants to raise their own rates or their neighbors or their parents or something like that. And like Gavin was saying, it's they're on the less you have to pay is better. Well, that's not always better when you have eventually them pipes in the ground are gonna go bad. You know, that they've been in the ground since the 40s, 50s, 40s and 50s, and grants aren't quite as easy as they were years ago, back in the 90s and the 80s. You know,
Well, and part of it now is the grant process. They look at what you're charging for water, and if you're not charging enough, that's what they tell you to do first before you can get any grant money.
yes, and most of them, you know, it has to be such a humongous jump to bring it up where it should be. You know, and there's a lot of people in these small towns that are on fixed incomes. You know, they just can't afford to more or less double their water bill.
Right.
And that's a problem. And some towns have done great. They've applied for the grants, and every year they do so many blocks, and their town is great. And when you drive into a town, you know, the fire hydrants are nicely painted red, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. Or the water tower, it has a nice paint job on it. Doesn't mean
That they're taking care of everything.
but you don't see what's underground, and that's where people are lacking, is what's underground.
So let's look ahead. What do you see the role of rural water looking like in the future? Is it more of the same? Are you guys looking at new things? What does this look like?
We're always looking at new things, and I got one little blurb here. I got to
See, I like a guy who comes prepared with notes.
Well, this was given to me by our apprentice coordinator.
Oh, okay.
And she said, hey, give them this. SDARWS apprenticeship program is working to ensure certified water operators and wastewater operators are joining the water workforce. Employers will provide a mentor to an apprentice and provide on-the-job training as well as paying for related technical training. All parties benefit in this program. The employer will have a highly trained employee upon completion of the 2-year program. The mentor can earn stipends and build a relationship with the apprentice, not to mention getting to share the wealth of knowledge and experience to help the system he or she has worked on to be more successful. The apprentice learns from the on-site expert and has the opportunity to ask questions and gain a wealth of knowledge at no cost. If you want more information, get a hold of Kendra, and she'll help you out at SDARWS.
See, I like a guy with a sales pitch into this thing too. That was one of my things. Is what is the future and what gives you hope?
It's a good looking program. You know, helping get somebody trained, start them out. And just us working with them, the mentor working with them, combining that wealth of knowledge to the individual. Just to help them get started.
Have you guys seen any successes with this kind of thing with mentorship? Recently?
It's big in other states. We just got going here in our state with it. So Kendra's really taking the ball and is going to run with it pretty good. I think it's going to be a successful program once we get going with it. So
I ask a lot of people when I'm on podcasts, because we talk about water, wastewater. It's like, how do we make water sexy again? You know what I mean? Where people want to be part of an industry that's crucial to day-to-day life for people.
Oh yeah. I mean, that, like you said too earlier, it's a health thing. It's, everybody needs safe, clean drinking water, and wastewater. You need to take care of that too, properly. Otherwise you have a health hazard there. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to make it sexy. Just besides me and Al showing up on site.
That would sell me right there.
Yeah.
What gives you hope, Al?
What gives me hope? It gives me hope that there is a lot of these towns that are putting money into their infrastructure, because now it's past its life cycle. It's wore out, and they're putting it in. There's a lot of these towns, it's young kids coming in, taking over these jobs. Hopefully they stick around, for 30, 40 years, and stick it out. But there is quite a few young men and women that are taking these jobs, and they're doing a good job. They really are. And hopefully our youth is our future, to where,
You guys just got to stick around to train a few more of them, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. 35 years ago, me and Al were those young kids.
Right.
Yes. We were replacing the next generation that was going out. In Sioux Falls, it was, you could see the guys in front of you that, hey, they're going to retire in a couple of years. You're losing that knowledge. You're losing that experience. So it was a good learning experience for me. And then also in a bigger city like Sioux Falls, you have all the tools. You have a little more staff, a lot more tools that are available to use that some of these small systems don't have.
If somebody needs to get a hold of rural water or get a hold of you guys, have an issue, have a question, where can they find you?
They can go to our website, SDARWS.com. Click on there, and it has about us. You can either email us, give us a phone call. We get them all the time. So, yeah, don't be scared. One thing I just want to tell everybody, if you got a question, get a hold of somebody and ask. That's the biggest thing you can do. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the room, but you got to be smart enough to go and ask for help when you need it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your guys' time. Gavin, Alan, thank you very much for joining us today on the McGuire Podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Remember, you can always connect with us by visiting our website, McGuireWater.com. You can ask us a question by sending us an email at info@McGuireWater.com, or you can follow or reach out to us on any of our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us on the McGuire Podcast.